Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to A.O.S. Abroad. Thank you so much for joining this wonderful live session. And today we want to talk about how we want to help people. Do you understand? How we want to help people JAPA abroad, especially through the job sponsorship. Not me per se, but how other people will say that same words to you. You understand online that, oh, I want to help you. I want to help you do what to JAPA abroad. And they would always ask for job sponsorship or even how people themselves will ask for job sponsorship. Today, we are going to be sharing you some videos that explain that particular um, pathway, how many people are coming into Canada through the job sponsorship, and how you need to be very careful of what you actually ask for and what you understand what you pursue. So I'm going to be playing some videos, and there are some sad videos that we'll start with that explains this particular um, opportunity or sometimes risk for immigration to Canada through this pathway. So please watch some of these shared videos before we talk about them.
You tell me to the same they get heart problem.
Hey, yo, don't you laugh?
No, you are not dying. You are not dying in Jesus' name. What is that? No one should they do. Let me say that you know immune system. This is the immune system. You tell me to the same they get heart problem.
Hey, don't you laugh?
You are not dying in Jesus' name. What is that? Show no punishments. No one should they know immune system. This is the immune system. You tell me the same they get heart.
All right, so that is the first video, and I'm going to be playing the second video right now. You may be wondering what it is all about. We'll explain after some time now. So I'm going to replace it and play yet another video. So please watch this video, and then from there we are going to discuss in what all these videos are all about. Please just stick with us as we also play another video right now.
Bro, close the course, please. Bro, close the course, please. Nah. This guy some things are dragging me from himself. Anyhow, he knows what he's doing. If we leave this guy should go for years. What do you think we should do? No.
No, 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 of course not.
We have to.
So right now I'm going to play the last video of this particular incident, and it explains in detail what the video is about. So let's listen to this lady actually talk about um
My
what really
explanation.
happened to the guy.
Now, for those of you that have been asking what happened to that guy I posted on my page, I know I've made a video in that I've talked about that. Countless times I went live concerning that, but I realized that every new person that comes to the page will not actually go down to go and search for a video, an explanatory video concerning that particular video. But when they did not see it, they will start like Helen insults on you, which is not healthy at all human beings. This is me now trying to explain what happened to that guy. Almost 8 million views. That guy, I use that word lured because somebody online, a white man online, chatted him up, told him that there is work for him. He agreed. They made everything. In fact, they're the ones that prepared them. He did not even have to go through anything. That all the money that was needed, necessary for the journey, was made available for him. To shorten it, he accepted. They showed him the work. They even made a video for him. He accepted the work, and he traveled. They picked him up. But when he got to that place, he realized that it was not the work that was promised to him that he's going to do. So this is more or less like he was giving something like he's going to be doing that same thing they do to him to other persons. So he refused. And when he refused that work that the white man asked him to do, he was injected. Yeah. Injected, and that thing you saw there was the case. And even before that video was leaked, came out, he has died. He has gone too soon. He has to the load. Yes. So for the people that is asking me, am I the one that videoed you? I wasn't the one that videoed him. I'm living in Nigeria. I'm not in that is UAE. Okay. So that is the thing. Now, what's the essence of posting that video? The essence is for people to be aware that this thing is happening. For you to see if I come online now and I'm not seeing you bearing your real name, I mean your real name, and I'm not seeing your real picture, because if you snap picture always, there should be one that stands out. That one that stands out is the real you. So if I'm not seeing the real you, I will not concur to whatever you are saying. I know that guy fell into that trap because somewhere there was a time on Facebook that a big content creator traveled abroad. He's also a comedian. So he posted his journey throughout, and it was just amazing. So a handful comments. I commented like, I really want to travel. So that comment alone got me almost going to 2,000 replies, because in that reply, 1,500 is telling me that they can bring me over. One man in question every day, even though that every other person was on my DM, but that man in question every day, he's asking me, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? So I thought that it was he's serious. So I called my brother, the one staying in South Africa. I called him. I told him, oh, brother, that's this guy, there's a guy that wants to help me travel abroad because I want to go to UK. He said he can bring me over. So I kind of have the opportunity now. My brother shouts, told me to stop chatting the guy that's scammers. So the wife took over because he married a South African. My wife, that's my brother's wife, took over from him, and he took when she took the phone, she started educating me. She started telling me that even if I want to go abroad, because then I've not finished school, she said finish school first, because if you are going abroad, you must have two things. It's either that you have skills or you are learned. You went to school, so you have to offer something for you to gain something. So she told me that, yes, since I'm doing this thing, that I should finish school before thinking of how to go abroad. So when I had to calm down, I started monitoring that guy. That was when I realized, oh, this guy, it might be, because he started telling me that Is it the money that is the issue? Why am I not responding? When am I coming? Say I should set a date that he can make every. I should, don't worry about the visa and everything. So I got scared. I know that yes, this guy is what my brother said he is. You know. So many say, let me tell you, before that guy's case came up, 10 Nigerians was rescued from that place. 10 Nigerians a month ago before that one. So every day our Nigerians they keep falling into because oju kokoro, you want to make it big.
Ojukoko.
You don't ask questions.
Ojukoko.
Nothing. You don't want to ask questions. You don't want to nothing. You just want to from. You want to make it big.
JAPA.
Imagine that. Assuming I did not ask, I would have packed my bag secretly, gotten the visa because connection. You know, Nigeria, you have connection, pian, you're gone. And of recent, people are still falling victim to it. If you refuse to watch they tell you, is either that or that imagine that. So tell me that let's take for instance that you have 10 million in your account or 15 million in your account. Do you think that traveling abroad is the best thing? If you don't have anybody abroad, I beg you, find small thing, invest that thing. Investment matters now. Invest that thing. If you don't get anybody we go day for you abroad, because one boy was telling me that when he was there every day he pays 1 million. You know their currency now. If you check it in Nigeria currency, every day he pays. Every day he's calling his people in Nigeria to help me send money to him. Of what use? Tell me, why are you going? Because if you don't have a job waiting for you, you are going. Mind you that if you get there, you will pay electricity bill, not like Nigeria. You will pay water bill, maintenance, the house, and while you are, since that you don't have a job already waiting for you, you will be paying. And while you are doing this, your money is vanishing.
Deep.
Why are we still falling into that same victim, into that scam every day? Why? So this is just an explanatory of what happened to that guy, because TikTok said do an explanatory video of what really happened in viral on your page. Yes. Now, if you like this video, please follow me, like, comment. I can help you viral if you want. You follow my steps, follow the tips I give, you can go viral. Thank you. Hi, bye.
All right.
So one of the tasks today.
Thank you so much once again. Chioma has really explained a lot of things on TikTok about the video on our page that went viral. The video about how one guy was spied. You understand, as by virtue of where he went to, the opportunity he saw online, and that person stating that the person can help him to migrate abroad without paying anything. The guy will just help him do everything, the visa, the passport, every goddamn thing, and he's just gonna come. And yes, he went to UAE, but based on what Chioma said, um, everything that appears too good to be true has its own downs, and it has its own, you understand, its own negatives. It has the disadvantages. Many things about immigration to places like Canada, the UK, US, UAE, there are legit ways to go somewhere, and there are legal ways that require you to pay for some things. It's not free. But when you are being told that yes, you can come freely, you don't need to pay anything, you don't need to, I always say it on my channel. I say it is either you pay by money, which yes, if you can't even afford, you can find ways to be able to make the money and pay for it, or you pay with your body, or you pay with your life. Sometimes it's as bad as that. You understand? Just like in the case of what Chioma said. But she was talking about the person that went to UAE, United Arab Emirates, to actually go work based on the opportunities online. But I also want to show a video on how would I call it now, on YouTube, that also explains this similar concept, but in Canada precisely, where I am right now. So I'm going to also share that video with you. You understand? I will also kind of increase the viewing of that video. And I want each and every one of us to listen to that video, listen into what they said in that video, and how you also can actually take one or two things.
I was being exploited financially.
Arif is alleging wage theft and intimidation using his real name because says he fears reprisals.
So I thought I could be easily deported by this company because they brought me here.
The Indonesian national was hired as a painter for Concord painting and wall covering, working on the Royal Columbian and Lionsgate Memorial Hospital projects. Arif claims he got paid 40 hours weekly but worked 50. Each paycheck. Arif made more than $1,700, seemingly not reflecting any overtime pay, and $1,055 deducted in rent while living with 8 others. Arif says he was told room and board would be provided.
I was promised 23 an hour, and I actually made 650 every 2 weeks.
That works out to be about $8 an hour.
Yeah, I think so.
It is rampant for abuse, and I believe it's happening all over.
The union representing BC painters got involved, helping Arif get $13,000 in unpaid overtime and getting immigration, refugees, and citizenship Canada to change his work permit, allowing him to work elsewhere.
There's a way out. And in addition to that, we want employers who are abusing these systems to know that there are penalties and you cannot get away scot-free.
We went to Concord Painting. Went agreed to an interview, but in an email, he denies the allegations and says Concord does not force workers to perform unpaid overtime work. If employees work overtime, they are paid time and a half, adding the company was always upfront that accommodations, utilities, meals, and transportation for work would be provided, but at fair market value. As for Arif's, he's now working for a different company, thanks to the union's help.
I think I'm in a bad situation. No, I want others to feel.
Angela Jung, Global News.
Now, this is one particular scenario, the scenario of someone that came to Canada. He was allowed to come work in Canada, but sadly, he also got exploited by virtue of coming to work in Canada.
You live across oceans, across borders, across times and worlds of.
I want us to also watch another video. Sorry for that issue. Let's watch another video that explains or that details how human trafficking in Canada, because something I always say on this channel is it is everywhere. If you are looking for too good to be true offers that would exploit you, it is everywhere. You understand? It's also in UAE, it's in the UK, it's in the US, it's in Canada. So if you want to fall victim of job exploitation, work exploitation under the so-called job sponsorship opportunities, they are very much to go around, right? So let's listen into another news broadcast that talked about
TikTok has both American and Canadian on alert. The New York Post reports smugglers are using the social media platform to advertise human trafficking services. Posts like the ones you see here are popping up all over TikTok. The Canadian coyotes mainly targeted Indian nationals for as much as $5,000. They often feature a United States flag waving over a wooded Canadian border with Indian music in the background. The Post asked for a direct message if interested. According to the New York Post, the services detail a 2-hour car ride and a 25-minute walk through an unguarded forest, taking 5 migrants at a time on a group walk. According to United States Customs and Border Protection data, northern border encounters have dropped significantly since President Donald Trump took office. In December, CBP had nearly 12,000 encounters on the northern border. In January, encounters dropped to a little more than 5,000. In fiscal year 2024, Indian nationals made up nearly a quarter of those apprehended crossing the northern border illegally. Data shows this is the largest single group of illegal crossings. Back in January, Trump announced tariffs on goods coming from Canada and Mexico in response to border control and fentanyl.
We're thinking in terms of 25% on Mexico and Canada because they're allowing vast numbers of people. Canada's a very bad abuser also. Vast numbers of people to come in and fentanyl to come in.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau responded with this February 3rd post on X. He states Canada is implementing a $1.3 billion border plan, reinforcing the border with new choppers, technology, and personnel, enhanced coordination with American partners, and increased resources to stop the flow of fentanyl. Nearly 10,000 frontline personnel are and will be working on protecting the border. Trump has since paused United States tariffs on both Mexico and Canada until at least March. However, the TikTok scheme adds a new factor in the negotiations. In response to the New York Post investigation, the Office for U.S. Representative Nicole Maliotakis called for a federal probe. The Department of Justice should investigate how these apps are being utilized for nefarious activity and get cooperation from the companies that operate them. Both Canadian and American border authorities insist those trying to cross the border will be arrested. For all your latest news headlines, download the Stray Air.
So, yet, this is another sample of people that are fighting the system to actually smuggle people into countries like Canada and the US. Now, this shows you that they are human smugglers, they are human traffickers, they are sex exploiters, they are work exploiters anywhere you find yourself. And the truth of it is, if you are part of those that are looking for a legal route to a country, you might find it, but it may not be beneficial to you at the long run. Do you understand? You might find it, but you may get exploited in the way, and at the end of the day, get to either, like in the drastic case of the man that we showed, a Nigerian guy that went to the UAE as he lost, you understand, his life by too good to be true offers. Some people may not lose their life, some people may lose their humanity, they may lose their own body, you understand, especially women. Like the case of Chioma when she was explaining how she was kind of attracted to a too good to be true offer. You understand? But thank God she didn't later go, you understand, with that particular guy that was contacting her on TikTok. But that's to show you that a lot of people, yeah, sometimes it's not even only you that are asking for it. Some people are willing to give it to you if they see you actually, you understand, looking for it. So be very, very careful of some of these offers that you actually see online. And I would like us to also listen in to another conversation of the jobs minister, Ravi Kalon, when he was talking about temporary residency pathway, which is the pathway that is in charge of, you understand, those coming into Canada to work, you understand, on a temporary basis on 1 year contract and 2 year contracts. I want us to listen to him and hear what he has to say about what is currently going on, you understand, in Canada, and how you yourself can actually protect yourself from some of these exploitations, some of these issues that are being faced by a lot of people from, you understand, from Canada, and how you can actually stand a better chance of not getting exploited.
Well, joining me now is the Jobs and Economic Growth Minister, Ravi Kalon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Michelle. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Why is the Premier calling for either major changes or altogether the cancellation of the temporary foreign workers program now?
We've been expressing this concern to the federal government for over 3 years. When I first became the Minister of Housing, I had sent a letter to the federal Minister of Immigration at the time saying that we need to relook at not only the temporary foreign worker program, but also other programs and immigration streams and provincial nominee program across the country. And the challenges that we see in these are a reflection of that. I'll give you a few examples. One, we have, of course, a need for temporary foreign workers in agriculture, in some smaller communities hard to get access, the talent you need for your business. Employers that have now essentially built their entire business plans on temporary foreign workers, they put up postings and they don't really try to hire somebody locally, and they're just trying to get someone and they can pay them a lower wage. My A state system, which lets employers post jobs. If nobody applies, then they can fast track their immigration to be able to do that. Now, it gets used in a proper way a lot of the time, but we've also heard way too many cases of fraud where people are being charged in another country, the employers are being paid for, and quite frankly, there's exploitation happening. What the Premier is expressing, and which for some time, is that we need to have all the provinces at the table, and we need to have a conversation about how we get the rules of immigration, how we structure the provincial nominee program, so the right talent that we need, right type of employment, and then if we're going to have temporary foreign worker programs, that it's done in a way that addresses the challenges we have, but also prioritizes immigration. If a person is good enough to come and work here, we believe that we should have a pathway for immigration for those individuals so they can make sure that they their families here and coach the local hockey team. So that is what the Premier has expressed to the federal government. And what we've said is, Prime Minister Carney's actually made some good moves recently coming in. We want to be able to help address that challenge. And if the premiers want to come together and make some advice to the federal government, then I think that's a positive thing.
You mentioned, small communities perhaps that and certain industries that would be at a greater need for temporaries. We did hear from the Canadian Federation of Independent Business pretty swiftly yesterday in response to Premier Eby's comments, calling them misguided. And they said that it is those small businesses, especially in rural and remote areas, that rely on this program to keep the doors in, because those jobs, there just aren't British Columbians there locally who will take them. So what would be the impact on businesses? Say we can't find local people in BC to take on these jobs.
No disagreement with small rural communities that are having a tough time with employment-related shortages or in agriculture. That's not the issue. The issue is
Minister Calon. Okay, our connection has paused with Minister Calon, unfortunately, so we'll try and fix that for you. We do have our connection back up now with Jobs and Economic Growth Minister Ravi Calon.
Hi, Michelle. So sorry for that.
No worries at all. I want to ask you, we've just had a couple of comments here saying, the workers that he works with, the A&W at 100 Mile House, you wouldn't find young people to fill those jobs, or you would have young people who are about to go to school. So what I'm wondering is, when we're looking at the unemployment numbers growing to 7.1%, it's been climbing, is there a direct link between those unemployment numbers, rising unemployment rates, and temporary foreign workers? I know the rhetoric points to that, but is there evidence of that jobs are actually not going to young people because of temporary foreign workers?
No, this is not about blaming temporary foreign workers. A lot of the folks that are working came through because the systems have built it. And so there should be no blame to these young people in particular that are working. And some of them face, a huge amount of racism. You talk to people who are working at even Save On Foods, the number one concern they have is the amount of racism they face from people day to day. But the challenge that we're dealing with here is how do you align the employment you have and make sure that the people locally have opportunities to get that? And, the caller before came on and said, from small towns, people, I get it, no problem. If you don't have the people, it makes sense. But if you have employers here in Metro Vancouver where we're at 12% unemployment rate, or in some parts here where unemployment is 10% plus, then we surely got to find ways to make sure locals have the opportunity. And just to comment on the other caller that called, Michelle, I'll just say that it's vitally important that we do have a pathway for people to get citizenship. That position has not changed. Having people come temporarily just to work when there's people locally that have need access to employment, we should be prioritizing local people to be able to take those opportunities.
Okay, you pointed to the issues around fraud. You've pointed to some industries and areas where it would still be beneficial. So it sounds like, okay, there are issues with the program itself. Why its cancellation altogether? Why is it?
Well, because it's been years of asking for the federal government to make changes to these programs, not only the temporary foreign programs as well. And so we are at a point of frustration where we're saying, if you're not going to make the reforms necessary, then you're going to have to do something else. But we prefer to be at the table, as the Premier said in his comments yesterday. We want to be at the table. We're prepared to actually lead a table amongst all provinces to have this conversation, work with the federal government. Again, they've made some good moves recently to realign. We want to see a system that works. But fundamentally, we believe if a person is good enough to come here and work, they should have a pathway to citizenship, just like my parents came, just like other people have come here to this country. We should be able to create that fair pathway. And temporary foreign worker programs should be used only in cases where there's a huge necessity. And we feel it's been expanded. And it's not only that, we've been having issues around the provincial by 50%, which was the only tool we had to make sure we had the right skills for the employment opportunities we need. So it's a more of a holistic piece, Michelle, that we need to address. And hopefully this is the start of a conversation between the provinces and the federal government.
Minister, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for this connection.
Glad to have you.
All right. So if we look at that again, we'll see very sharply that what we're saying is that Canada as well has its own fair share of exploitation, racism when it comes to work, you understand, in Canada. And it's very important to talk about that in this live session as well, because many people that are coming need to be aware that if you come the wrong way, you may be exploited, sadly, from some people that want to make use of this particular pathway to actually benefit their own pocket. And lastly, or second to the last, we also want to look into one particular article that I saw very, very interesting. And sadly, that article is coming from the United Nations, right? United Nations actually shared how um, people are coming into Canada and how they are being exploited by the system, and how you can actually be very well careful of the kind of thing you actually look for when it comes to immigration to Canada. So I want to actually talk about this article just in brief, not to explain too much or talk too much about it, but I want to talk about the UN envoy calling Canada's use of migrant workers breeding ground for what? For slavery. Why is that important in this discussion? Because they said Tomoya Obokata's report finds power imbalances and discriminatory practices which exploit workers from global south. Now, global south is places like like India, like Philippines, and places like that. But I'm not just going to focus on that. Even Nigerians, even Africans are also being exploited in places like Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver. You understand? Because people don't firstly know their rights, and two, because people are looking for things that look so good to be true. Right? So you have to be careful, because if you look at this, they said throughout the country, the person that actually did this report found workers were locked in debt bondage. Now, I'm very, very particular about that. What's debt bondage basically? Debt bondage is just like what our Nigerian fellows will always say, that, okay, please, there's some people even always ask for it. They would ask for it that, please, help me to come to Canada. When I come to Canada, I'll be paying it small, small. Why? Because at the end of the day, if you are not bounded by, okay, the normal proof of funds people look for from back home in Nigeria was going to banks to look for funds. You understand? Borrow funds. So many had borrowed funds to participate in the program and relied on Canadian wages to repay their accrued, you understand, debt. But some people are also being in a bondage with those so-called travel agents that brings them to Canada. And because of that, many of them have yet testimonies of widespread emotional and physical abuse. There will be wage theft. That means employer is going to be taking their money without them actually getting enough money to support themselves. There will be hazardous work conditions. People working in the farms. We have seen a lot of videos online surfacing on the internet. People working in farms and being exploited. Instead of you working regular hours, maybe you understand 4 hours part time, 8 hours part time. You hear some people working 18 hours, 20 hours per day. You understand? Not even per hour. Sexual harassment. There's also a concept of sexual harassment. People being, especially women, being sexually aroused by the fact that they came in, you understand, through this particular program. So we have to be careful. We have a situation of one woman that we also read you understand, a kind of testimony of our own situation, talking about how she was exploited by, you understand, some of the people in our workplace. Because now this is another article by amnesty.ca. Amnesty.ca was talking about abuse being a systemic issue in Canada's temporary foreign worker program. You understand? And I'm going to go down to where I saw that Cameroonian, yes, she was a Cameroonian woman, Benedicta. She's a woman from Cameroon, and she explained our own fair share of exploitation she actually went through in her own workplace. She said she suffered racist, psychological, and sexual abuse. You understand? These things are not, they are not fun to even say. But that's to tell you that a lot of things are happening, and we have to be very careful of the kind of things we are looking for. You understand? Online. Now she said she suffered sexual abuse at the hands of her employer as soon as she arrived in Canada in 2016. Now look at that, since 2016, with, you understand, a 2-year closed work permit to work on a farm, on a farm. Now this is something that is very, very crucial. You understand that people are wanting to exploit you if you yourself don't actually give yourself that worth. If you, anything that locks you with one particular employer, try to avoid it, because you may be exploited and you may not have a chance or a way to actually, you understand, go report that person. You may not be knowledgeable about how to report that person. Now she said she was made to work 70 to 80 hours per week. You understand? Performing tasks included in domestic work, was substantially underpaid. You understand? Some of them, they don't even give them any money. Thank God she is even underpaid. But it's just to tell you how issues are in the system and how she was constantly controlled. Her employer deceived her, promised to bring her children to Canada to continue exploiting her. You understand? So note, there are a lot of things that go on in this place. If you don't come the right way, if you don't come the way that is going to give you that, you understand, that peace of mind, you may be suffering more in Canada when you come than even in your home country. She eventually felt sick and she was diagnosed with severe anemia. You that were not sick in Nigeria, you that were not sick in Africa, you were not sick abroad, you now come to a particular country and you now get sick because of the virtue of the kind of work that you never even worked in your home country, working it in Canada. See, she said when she finally left the farm in July 2018, her employer cancelled her work permit, leaving her with an irregular migration status. I did not expect to be a slave. Look at what she said. I did not expect to be a slave here, she told Amnesty International. That's to tell you that, see, there's slavery everywhere. You know, I've been saying it. And today, I just wanted to have a live session where I'm going to show people proof of what I'm saying. These are things we see online. These are things from international organizations. It is not A.O.S that is saying it. It is not, like, you can get exploited if you come the wrong way. That's what we're trying to say. See another situation of a guy, you understand, Miguel, a Guatemalan migrant worker. Now look at this. This guy comes from Guatemala and is a migrant worker with 2-year visa under the TFWP. What's the TFWP? Is the Temporary Foreign Worker Program, which faced severe forms of control by his what? By his employer. Miguel was promised a 40-hour work week. You understand? $13 and 50 cents per hour, free accommodation with the possibility of bringing his family to Canada in the future. However, when he arrived in Canada, he worked between 60 to 72 hours per week without adequate rest. Imagine you working and not resting. Without adequate rest and compensation, they didn't pay him his rightful amount of money that he was meant to actually collect. You understand? Whilst working. That's why we tell people, any offer that seems too good to be true, an employer helping you to bring your family, helping you with accommodation, helping you, so you don't want to do anything, or you feel that everything is free. Nothing is free under the surface of the earth. You understand? That's why you have to be very careful. Nothing is entirely free. You understand? When we are talking with people, we let them see these things, because many of these people may not even be able to come out and say what they are facing because of intimidation. You understand? He said his boss confiscated his passport. Who does that? Who does that? Is your passport is your ID, your identification card. If it is being confiscated, that alone is criminality on the part of the employer. The employer is a criminal offense to do that kind of thing. But when you don't have rights, they use the full rights of coming to Canada as a very good resident, as a lawful resident, you are going to be exploited like this. How will your boss confiscate your passport? He said the boss confiscated the passport. He also placed cameras inside and outside the container where he lived and the garage where he worked, because they wanted to be, you understand, monitoring him every day. They said there was threats and other forms of verbal abuse were also frequent, including threats to send him back to Guatemala. And sometimes he would enter Miguel's room uninvited, ordering him to come on and get to work. Imagine, that is basically slavery. When you can't decide when you work and when you rest, that's just slavery. And look at that. He said Miguel decided to gather evidence of his situation and report it to his recruitment agency. When his employer found out, he ended his contract early and drove him to the airport. Now look at that. Drove him to the airport. Miguel never got on the plane. Instead, he reported the abuse he suffered to the police. Now, thank God he even reported. But some people may not even report. Some people may just go back home like that. You understand what I'm trying to say? So be very careful. Any offer that you see online that is too good to be true, that you just that at the end of the day, you now look as if you are getting an offer that other people are not getting. Be very, very careful of those kind of things. Now, look at this one also said, my work permit and work almost killed me. If we did not obey, we would be deported. Imagine, see how they were in, because at the end of the day, you realize this Walter, a migrant worker. Many of when you look at all these things, some of these situations, and when we look at how people come in, we see that they come in through pathways that look so good, so too good to be true. You understand? And at the end of the day, they get exploited, they get harassed, they get, you understand, molested. As women, they also get exploited, their body gets exploited sexually. So you have to avoid many of those things for yourself, right? Avoid too good to be true offers. Avoid offers that at the end of the day, it's people that don't even know that you traveled will later know your situation, and they will now be using your situation as, you understand, as a point of reference. Avoid that. That's what we are trying to say in this live session. So if you enjoyed this live session, if you want to actually learn more, you can go on our website, you understand, aosglobal.org. I can send you the link on our website. Go on our website to learn how to migrate to Canada legally. There are some legal pathways you can use to migrate to Canada. There are some legal pathways you can use to migrate, not only yourself, but you and your family members, without having to actually suffer work exploitation, without having to suffer discrimination, without having to go through racism, without having to go through, you understand, the decadence of, you understand, humans. So the moral decadence of humans. So you can learn how to migrate to Canada quickly in 2026, even with no travel history. I never had travel history when I was coming to Canada. I didn't necessarily have anyone, you understand, in Canada that could even assist me. I wasn't 40, 50. I was young, but we have seen other people too that are 40 years, 50 plus years of age that also migrated with many of these pathways that we also explained. We explained in details the study route, the work route, the visit route, the asylum route, the permanent residency route. You know, we at A.O.S. Abroad, we're all about educating you about legal pathways you can use to come to Canada. So go on that website, visit the website, learn how you can migrate, you understand, legally to Canada. There are legal ways you can do many of these things that would give you that confidence at the end of the day when you finally relocate abroad. And if you have any questions whatsoever, you can always drop it on the comment section of this video. You can also, you understand, send us a message through our website. Go on our website and you can get more information about what you need to do and how you need to relocate, you understand, safely from now till next year, with or without your family members, even if you have no travel history at all. Thank you very much and bye for now, everyone. Au revoir.